This is a question I received sometime today, so I decided to do a video to this. I said, "Good morning, sir. I need your advice concerning my Lion. I have one abused Peugeot 307 that the fuse box inside the engine vacuum is really abused. I want to know if I can get another fuse box which is similar to that one. Can I just replace it, or will I need programming the fuse box?" Okay, number one, you don't need there's no programming of any fuse. If you are replacing any fuse box, don't do any programming. You just remove and plug in another one. As long as it's fuse box or BSM, I'm talking about that one in the engine bay. Not talking about the PSI unit under the fuse box, since you are talking about Peugeot 307. So, for the fuse box, there's no programming of anything. It's plug and play. Just disconnect, put in another good new one, or good new used one. But I always prefer new one, at least original new one. But what should be your concern is where you said I have one abuse 307. That enough should even is where you should even focus on, not even the fuse box. So if you are saying I want to know if I get a fuse box which is similar to that one, can I just if you are saying if replacing the fuse box will solve the abuse problem, I mean, come on. Well, logically, when you look at what you just said, you will know that when by saying they abused the fuse box means they did the wrong connections, most likely. I mean, to abuse a fuse box is to do some wrong connection to it. I believe that's the logical thing. Even if I'm not there looking at the vehicle engine bay, you are saying they did the terrible wrong connections to the fuse box. And even if they did some bypass on the fuse box, it still has to work. It's all about wrong connection on the wiring harness. So unless you want to tell me that there's no wrong connection, there's no bypass or shortcut on the wiring harness that connects to the fuse box, you just want to, maybe they did some bypass on the fuses. If that's what you're saying, well, it's a different thing. But if you're saying they did a lot of cut and join on the harness that connects to the fuse box, or the wiring connectors that connect on the fuse box, then that should even be a more concern than the fuse box itself. Because if you buy a brand new fuse box and put it on the same abused wiring connection that will connect to the new fuse box, what do you think is going to happen to the new fuse box? So that should be sorted out first. So, and see, let me tell you the thing too. For what you're saying here, it's obvious you probably don't know much about dictating wrong connections. Or okay, maybe you've detected wrong connection, but you are not technical, knowledgeable enough to be able to correct those. Because if you have done that, if you have that kind of knowledge, you would have known already. You don't need to ask if changing the fuse box is enough to fix the problem, because you would have known that once you reverse the wrong wiring connection, all you need to do is to put a good fuse box. So what you need is to do is find somebody that will be able to reverse whatever wrong connection done on those wiring harness on the engine bay, because it's most likely that what killed or what led to maybe the abuse on the fuse box is also wrong wiring or abusive wiring connection that killed the fuse box. Or maybe the fuse box died naturally on its own and they started to bypass to make it work, come rain, come shine. So you need to set your wiring connection right. Even if it's right, find somebody just to confirm everything is right before you buy and put another fuse box. Otherwise, it will cause the same harm that happened to the other one. So that's the thing. Did you buy the car in that condition? Well, I always tell people, don't go and buy a modern Peugeot car if you have no knowledge of thoroughly checking the vehicle to see the abuse, if any, done on the vehicle, especially in Nigeria. If you are buying a modern Peugeot car in Nigeria, be it foreign use or Nigerian use, it doesn't matter. But if you go and buy and expect you now look for somebody to fix, if you end up buying an abused one, trust me, sometimes you will regret making that poor choice and decision, because you have no idea what so many people have suffered trying to resurrect or to fix an abused Peugeot or modern Peugeot vehicle, which has become a money pit that you may end up spending more than you would have even used to buy a very clean, non-abused one. Yes, I'm not saying spending the exact amount you used to buy a clean one. I mean spending more you could have used to even buy a clean, non-abused one. You don't even understand until you get into it, then you understand. I'm not saying that's the case in yours, but I'm saying that's what most Nigerians do, and then they end up coming up to start crying for help. If after all the warnings, people still ignore those warnings until they make themselves the victims, and then they start crying for help, saying the Peugeot have made them the victim. Peugeot didn't make you the victim, because there are a lot of Peugeot vehicles that are in good conditions and their owners are enjoying. They are not victims in any way, shape or form. But you choose to buy the one that will make you, that you put yourself as a victim. Somebody else has messed up and want to transfer that nightmare to people who don't want to care about their well-being. Because if you really care about your well-being, you wouldn't go and risk your hard-earned money to go and buy something you have no knowledge about, because the car could start and move. So I don't really want to waste time on this, because I've been saying that for many years. So back to your question. Replacing the fuse box will not likely correct the abuse on your vehicle if there's a wrong wiring connection on the harness that connects to the fuse box, or on the wiring of the vehicle that affected the current fuse box in the vehicle. So that should be sorted out first before talk about changing the fuse box. Or even if you buy another new fuse box, but first correct the wrong wire, reverse it. That's what I mean by correction. Reverse it, everything should go back to normal. Even if it comes to replacing the entire wiring harnesses in the vehicle, you have to do it, or find somebody who can correct everything, remove all the wrong connection, put it back to this thing before you put the new fuse box. And yes, second question you ask, you don't need to program anything. It's plug and play. Just remove another new fuse box, old fuse box, put another one, start working as if nothing happens. Alright, that's my response.